What's the biggest red flag you overlooked because your so was so hot? We were both college freshmen. We fricked a few times before I found out she had a boyfriend. After I found out she constantly complained about him and suddenly I was caught up in, but you wouldn't treat a woman like that, would you? 13,131,123 inches, and next thing I knew she broke up with him and we were dating. I came to find out over the next few months from her friends that for the last 2 years she had not spent a single day without a boyfriend, despite me being number 5 during that time. Every single boyfriend she would find someone else, cheat, talk about relationship problems until the new guy was white knighting, then break up with the old and be dating the new guy in the same day. But it's not like that, she's really into me, nope. 4 months later and out of nowhere she breaks up with me, talking about needing space and concentrating on her studies, and 2 days after that one of my friends is telling me he's dating her and he hopes that's okay since we are friends. Of course it's not okay, you dipshit. Either you die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become the villain. He got into a car wreck because he installed a PlayStation in his car and he and his friend were playing it while he was driving. Yo dog, heard you like crashing cars, so we put GTA in the front dash so you can't crash cars while you crash your car. Interestingly enough, his ex cornered me at my place of work right as I started hanging out with him, and she warned me about him. I brushed it off and wrote her off as crazy. Sure enough, literally everything she said came true. Her warning always lived in the back of my mind and eventually helped me get the nerve to kick him out. I've always wanted to run into her again and thank her and apologize for calling her crazy. This reminds me of my sister. She did the exact same thing with the next several women her ex dated. None of them believed her when she said he beat her and would do the same to them. Some of them blamed her for stressing him out when he started beating them. When I asked her dad for her hand in marriage, he said, "Are you sure you know what you are getting yourself into?" He was not joking. When a family member of the so says it. My ex and I had an argument as we were going to bed. Realizing that we weren't getting anywhere, we decided to deal with it in the morning. I fell asleep and she kept fuming to the point of her turning towards me and punching me in the kidneys. I woke up unable to breathe. I don't react well to violence and just got dressed and left the apartment for night. She apologized in the morning and we talked it out and in some warped logic agreed that since she is so petite, her hitting me was not a big deal. Nah, it is a big deal and there is no justification for violence. Every time we fought she would call her mom and after a minute hand me the phone and start to go down on me while her mother told me how she was and how I had to treat her. Frickin' nuts. So far this is my favorite one. He nearly got us killed tons of times while he had his initial D-like fantasies of going around tight corners super fast and cutting it real close with rock walls, despite how many times I told him not to. Panic attack nearly every time I had to hop in the car with him. Deja vu. Any pleasant, romantic, sweet, loving, gratuitous thing I did he would treat me like crap. When I would show zero interest in him for being such a donghead he would treat me like royalty. Pull out every stop, every trick in the book to romance me and make me forget about it. When I would be sweet back it turned him off. The more I ignored him and rejected him for being a total butthole, the more he wanted me. It was this weird game. After a while I grew tired. I didn't want to play anymore. Been there, done that. Frustrating as frick. Her sister told me you're not seeing the real her. She's a CEO boy, I should have listened. Her best friend told me about the 4 other guys my virgin girlfriend was fricking. The best friend then tried to get me to sleep with her. Story was true. Didn't bang her best friend. This was right after high school. He had his own name tattooed on himself. I brushed it off as quirky. It's gotta be a joke, right? There's no way a real live person could be that comically narcissistic, right? Long story short, he eventually started playing recordings of himself singing and playing guitar. While I pleasured him, the cherry on top was that he never reciprocated and was by far the worst lay I've ever had. Like I did not know the depths of how disappointing sex could actually be. And I'm not even gonna go into the emotional disappointment. I'm ashamed to admit that our relationship lasted almost a year because I was in denial that someone so good looking could be such an irredeemable pile of crap. In a similar but different vein, I had a girl tattoo my name on her breast after me telling her repeatedly not to. I watched her be abusive and manipulative towards the guy she was dating when I met her, and we were still just friends. For some reason I thought it wouldn't be like that with me. It was. She also told me herself, when we first started dating, that she was really fricked up and that most people who dated her ended up hating her. I didn't believe it. She turned out to be really fricked up, and I ended up hating her. On the bright side, she was at least honest about herself. Facebook wall covered with those really trashy fake friends cause drama posts written in cursive. It's a red flag. My brain knew it, but my dong thought it knew better. The dong is surprisingly influential despite its well-known bad judgment. Her father told me days before we got married that she was a 7 narcissist and incapable of loving anyone but herself. Thinking back, all I had were red flags, no green flags really at all. She cheated on her last boyfriend, and despite all my friends telling me to not do it, I did, and you'll never guess what ended up happening. He moved way too fast and kept pressuring me to have a baby with him, after knowing him for 4 months. Oh boy. I dated a guy who would talk about how he couldn't wait for me to cook and clean for him every day. We dated for a total of 6 months. I noped hard out of that one. Everyone warned me he was, and is, non-committal. Proceeded to date him with the idea of, but what about Emmy? Who wouldn't want to commit to Emmy? Also a red flag about myself. Heyo, we all have red flags to someone. Well done on recognizing a red flag in yourself. When they say every guy girl I've met has abandoned me, and I didn't do anything wrong or something along those lines. If everyone else is always the problem, then you might be the problem. Didn't faze me though because if it smells like crap everywhere you go, you should probably check under your shoe. Alcoholism. We were both young. I didn't think any of it until I started to reflect back on it about a month into the relationship. We had literally drank every single night we were together. And we were together every single night without fail for 3 months. She would either pick me up from work and have a case of beer in the back, or I would go visit her at her place and she would already have a bottle of wine on the go. The biggest red flag should have been the first 2 nights we ever officially hung out. I picked her up from her friend's house because she needed a way home. The entire way home she just kept telling me how much she wanted to have sex with me and how bad she wanted me. She couldn't even keep her eyes open. I told her how uncomfortable I was because she was so drunk and I was so sober. The next day I told her what transpired and she would tease me and call me a P for not doing it. It was such a huge conflict in my morals. It took me 3 months to finally walk away from that, and almost $3,000 later, but I'm glad I was able to. No one was worth that kind of mental pain. When talking about sex, she felt the need to mention I wouldn't need to wear a condom cause she's came in so many times and hadn't got pregnant yet. She's a keeper. Where do I start? His drinking problem, his volatile relationship with his ex-wife, his never being single for over a decade. He was recently unemployed and had been fricking a very gay drug dealer for the opportunity to do Molly. He insisted he was straight and proved it by fricking some fat Catholic chick while on the Molly. This has the potential for an awesome side character in a comedy. Held my hand, looked deep into my eyes, and wistfully protested, "Don't finish your schooling in the city an hour away. I am afraid you will meet and like someone else instead." What is that Bojack quote? If you are wearing rose-colored glasses, all the red flags just look like flags. That quote is exactly what ended my last relationship. I had to laugh because I honestly never thought a freaking cartoon would cause me enough introspection to end a relationship. He was dumber than a rock. I swear to Christ he was the walking inspiration for Derek Zoolander. Walking and screwing were about the only things he could do without breaking something or causing something to go wrong. P. Attempted to wash my dishes with laundry soap. Was apparently unfamiliar with 2 knob showers and couldn't figure out how to make a hot shower happen at my place until he asked, could not, to save his life, remember where I lived or what apartment I was in, even after coming over 5 times. Thought the US president had the same unilateral powers and reign as a monarch. Confused the 4th of July with President's Day. Assumed his work schedule was incorrect for scheduling him on President's Day as they must be closed, and simply did not go in. Consistently told me our star signs were plutonic together. Still unsure what he meant. Upon learning that shelter dogs were always fixed, asked me why there were so many puppies then. I made it through 3 weeks. If I'd have stayed with him I'd have had to develop a heroic drinking problem just to cope. Good lord was he hot though. I seriously didn't want to admit he was also profoundly dumb. Attempted to wash my dishes with laundry soap. Men's 18-in-1 body wash. I'm mentally unstable, emotionally manipulative, and will probably hurt you. But why would I put away my shopping cart? People get paid for that. Proceeds to leave it in middle of parking spot. I ended up putting it away myself anyway, but my god. She said don't post pictures of us online. My ex owes me money and won't give it to me if he sees I'm with someone. She was still dating him. We found out about each other, obviously. He and I talked it out and became friends. She went on to cheat on more guys. Well, at least there was a happy ending. One girl I liked had some amazing boobs that were exactly my type. Too bad she had a tattoo of the Columbine shooters on her waist. He was a drug dealer who lied about literally every single thing, had me sharing my location with him at all times, and constantly cheated. Since then I've gotten my self-esteem out of the trash can, but I still am so mortified when I think of how low I was, and how he took such advantage of that. But he was so hot. Probably telling me that the reason I was emotionally attached to her was because of my white ownership mentality. Cause black people don't feel attachment, I guess. Man, that was a train wreck. She was super into her looks, wore lots of makeup, talked negatively about other women's looks, watched the Kardashians as much as humanly possible, talked about Instagram constantly, and oh my god, as I'm typing this out, I can't even remember what the heck we ever did while we were in the same room together. As soon as sex got boring, our relationship was over. Makes sense now, but at the time, I tried like heck to make it work, yet simultaneously, I had no idea what to do. Him grinding on me and groping me at a concert when he was with his ex and dumping her the next day to be with me. I was 16 and a self-conscious idiot. He did the exact same thing to me a couple months later. He fell in love with that girl and was with her for a year. I found out that they broke up because she cheated on him throughout the relationship. Karma? Ah, high school. What a truly bizarre, amazing, miserable time. I dated a charismatic man who was so much fun. Let's call him Eddie, because that's his name. Eddie was the definition of life of the party. Had wild stories for days. We would sit at a bar and he knew someone everywhere we went. Only men though, and most of his stories involved a crazy woman. I didn't fully realize that until later. And then BSP. Eddie ended up getting blackout drunk and violent one night. Very aggressively kept me in his apartment by force for hours and hours. I thought he was going to kill me. I tried calling 911 and blurted out the address as fast as I could, but he grabbed my phone before I could finish and sinisterly grumbled to the dispatcher, "She's fine." He took my phone and my keys. He smashed me into some walls and grabbed my face and roughed me up. I escaped and he was charged with assault, false kidnapping, interference with a phone during an emergency, and disorderly conduct. Don't trust guys with more than 10 crazy girls in his past. TBH. The crazy ex-victim complex bar should be much lower than 10. Nothing was ever his own fault. It was always everyone else who was wrong, or who had the problem. Everyone was always out to get him. He was the problem. It was Valentine's Day, and I drove her about an hour and a half to this nice Indian restaurant in the state's capital. We really don't have a large Indian population anywhere, so we have 0 restaurants like it in town. She was also flirting with vegetarianism and I wanted to support that. After a very nice meal, the owner of the restaurant came to our table to ask how everything went, and even complimented her necklace, and asked kindly if he could see it. He remarked that it was very nice, but casually set another necklace on the table in front of her and said that perhaps she would look better in that one. Surprise, it was my gift. I had planned the whole thing. On the way home she was very quiet, and when we got back to my place she said she had to take care of some things and left kind of quickly. When she called me about a half hour later, she admitted that she was confused by the whole thing and that she didn't have a nice time, and that she worried about us because we were so different. She wasn't used to eating fancy food and dressing nicely just to have a meal. And since I went through all of this trouble, I must have done something wrong. So on the way home she had thrown the necklace out of the window and kept driving. I calmly asked where she had thrown it and spent about 2 hours going up and down that particular stretch of road until eventually, at about 2 AM, found it in someone's yard. And all I did was give it back to her and told her that I loved her and that she had nothing to worry about. A few months later she would leave me and confess that she had cheated on me at least 6 times and that she wasn't attracted to me but the sex had been great, and she wanted to be single so that she could pursue other things. I calmly asked where she had thrown it and spent about 2 hours going up and down that particular stretch of road until eventually, at about 2 AM, found it in someone's yard. And all I did was give it back to her and told her that I loved her and that she had nothing to worry about. You are a friggin' son. I hope you found someone worthy of you. Sacrifice is something other people do for me. Apparently I was dating a Disney villain and didn't notice. Fresh out of juvie, no job, constantly talked about how hot his female friends were. I'm furious at teenage me for putting up with that crap. But I thought he was so hot. Looking back, he wasn't even that attractive. His personality was definitely ugly as crap. He's in prison now. Probably will be for the rest of his life because he can't go more than 2 weeks without totally fricking his life up. If you want some type of comfort, I can tell you I was this guy for most of my teenage years and into my 20s, and wholeheartedly my biggest regret is still that one girl from high school. I'm sure it'll be the same for him. Very early on, he cold raged at a stranger in an online game because said person took his main, sabotaging and guaranteeing our entire team lost because we were so fragmented. Later, I discovered he had massive body hang-ups to the point he couldn't handle giving or receiving much directed physical attention without shutting down emotionally, so I didn't even get to benefit from the attractiveness. Much later, I discovered kind is the sexiest thing you can be. I love that. Only dated this guy for 3 months, but the red flag I missed was he had a DUI. He owned his own successful restaurant and was a very beautiful man that loved to cuddle. I didn't find out till the end he didn't have his license back yet and he was drunk every night. He had driven to my house so many nights already tipsy. At the time I was also a 911 communications officer. An officer had pulled him over while he was tipsy, but due to him being so close to home he let him go. That's when I knew we probably shouldn't date. A year after we broke up, one of my M's friends called to tell me my ex died in a drinking and driving accident. His head was completely decapitated. I thank God every day I wasn't in that car, but at the same time I wonder if I could have made a difference in his life. The only person who could have stopped that was him. Never blame yourself or feel like you could have fixed him. There's support, but it only goes as far as the other person wants it to go. Well, she tried to make out with my best friend, who is gay, so it didn't work out. She broke up with me when she got her modeling contract in NYC. My mom said that the relationship doesn't count because we were only together 2 months, but my dad was like, wrong. My son dated a model. I like your dad. He makes it sound awesome on paper. Told a mutual friend I was going on a date with her. Her response to finding that out was to text me, "I'm gonna kill you. I told you not to tell anyone." Yep. She was in school to be a mortician, which I found strange initially, but when we had sex for the first time she insisted that I don't move or talk, like she just wanted me to lay there quietly while she rode me, like I was dead. I was okay for the first few times, but she got like literally angry if I would break character and start moaning or thrusting. Turns out, she's a necro and she gets off on dead things and having sex around dead people. He told me he was writing a book about himself viewed through the lens of women that he'd had sex with. I didn't realize it at the time, but it was a big red flag that spelled narcissist. He thought of other people, particularly women, as a cast of characters in his life. He also insisted he was a devout Christian, but said several things that implied that he thought God and him were more like peers. I'm not religious myself, but I'm pretty sure I know how that chain of command is supposed to go. Addict and escort. Eventually found out, the escorting did not bother me much and she cleaned up. Have been together for 3 years. Thing is, it was weird because she looked like a perfectly well-groomed, attractive professional girl but was a total tweaker. Yup, it's hard to tell for some. I was a kid in business school, front of class, good grades, and stoked to learn. Most of my friends thought I was just super energetic and outgoing, until I crashed and admitted myself to get help. 5 years clean. He constantly called himself a dickhead, bragged about how if anyone fricked him over he could just drop them like that and he wouldn't care. I supported this cause, of course. If people treat you badly you need better people. Nope. He gets bored of routine and he's left me and our baby to live this wild lifestyle. Yep, definitely a dickhead. Her family culture was based on lies. Her mother was a Christian Scientist and her father was an atheist, so when she got sick, he would find clever ways to get his daughter medication. She was so used to deception that she would lie without even thinking. I personally don't like having sex on my period, so when I told him I'm on my period and didn't want to have sex he wouldn't believe me and wanted me to prove it. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.